The cheers light the beam. You'll be hearing about that throughout the year with the Sacramento Kings.
Are you ready? They want it!
Yeah.
Light the beam!
They do not know what Sacktown brings. When on the low, that's a Sacktown thing. Talking about us, it's a bounce out thing. Must they forgot we some Sacramento Kings. Whole squad going crazy, yeah, we back with it. Northern Cali going crazy, one sack winning. If you doubted us, then ain't no back spinning. This is real right here, ain't no catfishing. So tell me what you see now. Coming down the lane off the rebound. It's 9-16 now. Look towards the sky like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. If you reppin' that Kings like the beam now. Sack proud, make sure everyone knows. Let me tell you how this thing really goes. Yeah, we travel deep, whether we home or on the road, we lit. You don't want that smoke, we the team of the year. We shaking things over here, don't doubt, we believe over here. We don't bleed over here. And let me just speak real clear, only deal with real Kings over here. So tell me what you see now. Coming down the lane off the rebound. It's 9-16 now. Look toward the sky like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam, like the beam now. You can tell them like the beam now. Tell them like the beam now. If you reppin' that Kings like the beam now.
Light the beam!
Light the beam! What's up, guys? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you smash up that like button down below. And please hit that subscribe button. Calvin and I put out fresh Kings content, and we are live after every single Kings game here on YouTube. We're also on Twitter Spaces, so if you'd like to have your voice heard, you can go ahead and jump on Twitter Spaces, request to come on stage, and you could be live here on the show with Calvin and I. But hey, Kings win tonight in a nail-biter. I got no nails left after this game, Calvin. Kings win 117-115 over the Utah Jazz. De'Aaron Fox hits the go-ahead bucket, 37 points for him. Calvin, dude, I'm feeling stressed out. How are you?
Just glad they pulled it out, man. These games have been wild. That was something else.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you saw me in the group text, dude. I was about to lose it, dude. I apologize if I let some four-letter words slip during this stream. It was a very stressful game, a lot going on. Of course, I'm excited for the win, but Calvin, there was a lot of fuck shit going on. I got to say that straight up, a lot of that going on. The referees seem to continue to hate the Sacramento Kings. Dude, Calvin, I'm tired of standing up for the referees, dude. I think I'm going to let them have it on this stream. They tried to screw us out of that victory, but hey, we made it work. We made it happen, and we got the win, which is the most important part. Shout out to everybody here in the chat. PK, my guy, the bouncer, is here. Fred Dixon, Jesus, Jay, Tito, California Ryder, Bench Matthew, Paralux, Gothan, Sean, Alfie Man, Lane. Wow, Brian, we got a ton of people here in the chat. Pika House is here, Ninja Style, Sean, Callum. Welcome in, everybody. And if I did not mention your name, you're also welcome. Christian's here. He's cracking open a beer. Amir is here. Patrick, welcome in, everybody. Thank you, guys. Charlie, Bryce. Wow, we got a lot of people here in the chat. Everyone is excited. I see Kyle is in here. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Rodders is here. So yeah, Lydia, David. Wow, we got a lot of people. PK, welcome in. Wow, what a game, Calvin. Silva's here. What an effing game, dude. Jesus Christ. My heart rate is still pumping after this victory. But Calvin, I want to hear from you. First thoughts on the game.
Well, a very schizophrenically reffed game. I think we can all kind of say that up front. There was a lot of it. Felt like there was every 5 minutes it just changed how the officials ref this game. We can all agree on that. Other than that, man, the Kings, I rarely see a team play so well and so poorly at the same time in a lot of different ways. They really match up well against this Utah team. I think both games, the Kings have won by a combined 3 points in 2 games. They should probably have won by double digits in both games. And a lot of it, yes, the officials are there and they're screwing things up here and there. But the Kings just shoot themselves in the foot against this Utah team over and over and over again. Turnovers, points off turnovers, second chance points. Utah is not a good rebounding team. They gave up 12 offensive rebounds in this game. The free throw disparity obviously hurts as well. They couldn't shoot well from 3 in either game. I like the Kings' chances against Utah, but they make it hard for themselves a lot as well.
Yeah, they definitely did. You know, the first quarter of this game was great. You know, the Kings started off to a really, really hot start. I was feeling good. And then the third quarter happened, Calvin, and it was not good. You're right? We got to see good Kings. We got to see bad Kings. And then at the end there, you know, we got to see good and bad Kings all in the same quarter, the same last couple minutes of the game. You're right. Turnovers. This game started with the Jazz throwing the ball out of bounds multiple times, you know, for no reason. Highlight to Rudy Gay. Shout out to Rudy. Welcome back to basketball hell. But, hey, you know, the Kings, they were like, hey, you can turn it over. Well, let us show you how to turn it over. And they turn over the ball a bunch themselves. But, hey, De'Aaron Fox comes through in the clutch. And, yeah, best quote of the night so far by Sean, them refs is hoes. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So, yeah, shout out to the referees. We got Sac Kings in here. Alfredo is here. Welcome in. Who else did I miss here? I want to make everybody feel welcome. So who else did I miss here to welcome in here? Wow, the chat is moving real fast. Sean is here. Angela. Welcome in, Angela. Good to see you. And let's see. Anybody else that I missed, Calvin? I don't know. I don't want anybody to feel missed. But welcome in.
I'll tell you who's not here. Guy Lobo and yours low. Shocker. Absolute shocker.
Asha's in the house. Welcome in. Hey, guys, I just need a quick favor from you all before we get the game started. Please smash up that like button. We're fans just like you. We do this for fun, and we get paid in likes. So please hit that like button. Go ahead and share this video with all your favorite Kings fans. It really, really helps us grow the channel. Wow, it looks like De'Aaron Fox's brother Adam is here in the house. Shout out to Adam Fox. Kyle is here. Welcome in. Calvin, I mean, the first game, right, the Kings, they played well. Lauri Markkanen did not really play well, exceptionally well in that first game, at least shooting-wise. He only made 1 3 tonight, but it was a dagger. We also saw him, you know, pick up some free throws there at the end, kicking his leg out on the three-pointer. You know, there's a lot of bad things I got to say about the referees tonight, Calvin, and we'll definitely get there. But, hey, I think we start off here with the box score. So let's go ahead and dive here into the box score. As I mentioned, Kings win tonight 117-115 over the Utah Jazz. They pick up their 20th win of the season, Calvin, and they are officially 4 games over 500, which feels exceptional. It really, really does. Oh, Calvin, you got to put the chain on, dude. Alfie's calling you out.
I'm sorry, guys. The chain has been put away momentarily. I know you guys associate a Kings win with the chain or vice versa, but the chain is very much associated with something else for me right now, and I can't look at it. So
I agree
much
with
like
Jesus
you guys
here.
feel about the referees in this game, I feel the same way for different reasons. So the chain has been momentarily put away. It doesn't matter, though, because we're lighting the beam. It's all about the beam.
Boo this man. Calvin, give me some cowbell or something, dude. Come on.
I'll give you all the cowbell you want.
There we go. All right, so back to the box score here. Kings win 117-115. Domantas Sabonis, 21 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists in 39 minutes, 8 of 13 from the field, and picked up 5 personal fouls in this game. Harrison Barnes, 37 minutes, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 7 of 13 shooting, 3 of 7 from three-point range, 16 points for Keegan Murray in 37 minutes. And Keegan was named the Western Conference Rookie of the Month. Calvin will definitely talk about that here a little bit later. De'Aaron Fox, huge game by De'Aaron, 37 points, including the go-ahead bucket, 3 rebounds, 6 assists in 38 minutes of action, 15 of 22 from the field, 1 of 5 from three-point range, 16 points for Kevin Huerter, including 2 threes for him in 32 minutes. Not much bench production tonight, Calvin, for the Sacramento Kings. 2 points for Trey Lyles, 4 points for Davion Mitchell, and only 2 points for Malik Monk, 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from three-point range. So the starters really got it done in this game, Calvin, and they played big minutes. As far as the Utah Jazz goes, it's crazy. Kelly Olynyk, only 5 points for him. Seemed like he scored a bunch of points in the fourth quarter, so maybe all 5 of those were in that fourth quarter. 28 points for Lauri Markkanen, 14 for Jared Vanderbilt, 18 for Mike Conley, and 24 points for Jordan Clarkson, and 16 points off the bench for Beasley. Calvin, anything that really stood out for you here in the box score?
I think it's Lauri Markkanen's stat line. He was really good in the first game, and we talked about how Harrison Barnes had a lot of trouble defending him one-on-one with all the screen and roll action that they use. He likes to get to the middle of the paint, and I thought the Kings were so much better at defending him in the half court today. Barnes did a better job fighting over the screen, and as soon as he caught the ball, the double team immediately came. They forced the ball out of his hands, and he did not shoot very well. However, he was bailed out with 15 free throw attempts, and he knocked down every single one of them. So the Kings were much better on him defensively. However, a lot of fuck shit.
Yeah, a lot of that, dude. They almost got beat by a guy with a girl's name. I see some people here in the chat wanting the Island Boys. I think we should make a new rule here on the channel, Calvin. We play the Island Boys when we get to 50 likes. Does that sound like a reasonable ask?
Sounds reasonable to me.
All right, so that's the thing. Lydia, you better be campaigning for some likes here. You want to hear your Island Boys. I'm happy to play it, Lydia, for you, but we got to get to that 50 number. What's up, Mojo? Good to see you. Jeremiah is here. Welcome in. DJ, Charles, Double O, welcome in. All right, so back here. Oh, Goffin. All right, back here. So Kings shot 53% from the field tonight, which is much better than Utah's 43%, but only 28% from three-point range. The Kings were out-rebounded by 4 by the Utah Jazz, 40-44. 23 assists tonight for the Sacramento Kings, which is not really where we wanted, Calvin. But, hey, got the job done tonight, so that is okay. 18 turnovers for the Kings as opposed to only 16 for the Utah Jazz, and 52 points in the paint for the Sacramento Kings tonight. A lot of stuff going on in this game, Calvin. It was back and forth. Dude, these Kings games are really, really wearing me out, dude, emotionally. I'm all over the place. I don't even know. Yesterday, Calvin, we went on an amazing hike, and we're counting steps. I should have kept my phone on me during this game. I don't know how many steps I took walking around the living room, dude, just stressed out about this game. But, hey, it worked out. The Kings got the victory. Wow, those likes really jumped up pretty quick, Calvin. We only need 3 more likes till we get to hear from our special guest tonight. But anything else that really jumped out for you?
Well, for me, it's the disparity in the turnovers and the second chance points. Turnover numbers themselves are pretty much equal, but the Kings the Jazz were able to get 27 points off those turnovers. The Kings only 6. Between that and the free throw disparity, that's what allowed Utah to hang around in this game and make it a game down the stretch, even though the Kings had pushed the lead out multiple times in that fourth quarter. But just like we talked about for the Memphis game in a loss, how the Kings are changing the tide of their franchise, their culture, by being able to battle and stay in these games even when things aren't going well. They gave up 38 points in the third quarter to Utah on the road. Another situation where they could have easily let the game slip away from them. The officiating is all over the place. There were a lot of reasons for Sacramento to kind of lose their focus, their control on this game. And they came back with a huge defensive fourth quarter. I think, 23 points allowed. and they closed the game out thanks to, De'Aaron Fox and some really clutch plays.
The Kings won, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Kings won, yeah. The Sacramento Kings, oh, yeah, the Kings won, yeah. Fox is so fast. Sabanas is so strong, yeah. Coach Mike is so smart, yeah. They're on the playoff bound, yeah.
There you go, Calvin. They're making the playoffs. Sorry, I had to jump on it before Charles took his like away because I know he's not a big Island Boys fan, but it's okay. Sean, don't die on me. Sorry, Calvin. I was not laughing at you, dude. I'm laughing at everybody in the chat. They are hilarious tonight. I didn't know so many people were fans of the Island Boys. I guess it's growing on me as well. It's kind of like, was that Pavlov's theory, right? Where you give the dog a treat, you ring the bell and you give them the treat, and then you just start ringing the bell and their mouth starts salivating. Maybe that's how I am with the Kings now and the Island Boys. Every time I hear that, I just think good feelings, dude. I feel victory. Maybe everyone's feeling like that here in the chat. So kind of weird, but hey, we get a win. I don't care, dude. It's fun. Calvin, before we kind of dive here into the players, how are your legs feeling today? Are you sore?
Oh, very sore. Very, very sore. Don't forget, I had to take another 11,000 plus steps today at work, so I am definitely feeling it.
You want to let everybody know what we did yesterday?
Yeah, we went on a 12-mile hike through the crater of the volcano here on Maui, which is called Haleakala. It goes from one portion of the summit all the way down to the other side into the crater and out. It's a very long day. It was an awesome day. The weather was perfect. I got a ton of sun, as you can probably tell, but it was really fun. And then I had to go back to work today, so I'm definitely feeling it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Just to clarify, what's up, Neil? Good to see you. And Jose, welcome. And just to clarify, this was not an active volcano. That's on the Big Island. We were on Maui.
I didn't think I had to clarify.
It's 10,000
that,
feet.
If you needed
it's
that.
Cold. It's a little windy, and like everything up there is dead, Calvin. It's just sand and dead stuff. There was a dead zone.
Everything.
And
some birds up there. There's a few plants. Actually, some really cool plants. But we need to have another podcast just to talk about all that stuff. So,
yeah, great day. I did wake up a little sore, but I'm feeling pretty good, Calvin. Maybe I'll jump in the hot tub after the stream and recoup here a little bit. But hey, let's jump back into the game. I want to talk about the final few minutes of this game because man, was it exciting. If anybody here in the chat missed the game tonight, just go back and rewatch maybe the first quarter if you want to see some Kings domination, and then watch the last few minutes because, man, there was a lot going on. But, Calvin, first off, I want to talk about that acting job by Jordan Clarkson and that weird headbutt that happened. What did you see on that play?
Well, I saw probably what everyone else saw. Jordan Clarkson is making a beeline for the top of the key like he's going to receive an inbounds pass. And then he just decides he's going to stop running. And KZ ran right into him. It's one of those plays where if that's a foul, there's no way to physically play defense. I hate that. It's bullshit. There are a bunch of those plays I can say, through the course of this game tonight. The jump ball on Keegan Murray and Markkanen, I don't know what that was. It was an awfully quick call for it to be a jump ball. I mean, it not to say that it benefited either team because I think Utah would have come out of the scrum with that ball anyway. But then they jumped the ball, and it was like you couldn't really tell where the tip was. I felt like they should have rejumped it. There's just a lot of stuff. The 2-minute report's going to be on fire with Utah Jazz players and whatnot, but it was a rough one.
Yeah, there's a lot of fuck shit going on, Calvin. That's my quote of the night, dude, some fuck shit. And Jordan Clarkson, maybe he'll get a movie deal after this game because that was some serious acting on that. He's running, then he just stops, and then he, throws his head back into the guy, dude. That to me, should be an offensive foul, dude. You saw KZ grabbing his chin there, kind of and you're right, dude. With stuff like that, it makes it impossible to play defense. Speaking of jump balls, did you see the jump ball earlier with Trey Lyles? The referee throws the ball up, they both miss it, and then Trey hits it into the referee's head.
Which, hey, they're supposed to be part of the floor. So just because you get hit in the face, the play's supposed to carry on after that. But what's really interesting and kind of illustrates my point about how this game was officiated so differently, like from one end of the spectrum to the other every 5 minutes. Just a few possessions before that Jordan Clarkson play, KZ is guarding him in the backcourt, trying to deny the ball on an inbounds pass, and Jordan Clarkson makes contact with him and falls down, and they let the play go. So it's got to be the same thing, right? Like, it's either an offensive foul or you just let the play go on. I don't understand what's happening there.
Some more of that fuck shit, Calvin. That's all I saw today was that, dude. And I'm going to say that's my quote of the night, dude. Some fuck shit, dude. Maybe I need to tweet it out or something. But, hey, I'm just happy we got a victory. I'm happy we got a victory. What'd you think about that, the Lauri Markkanen three-point attempt at the end? Well, okay, let me rewind a little bit. The foul at the three-point line by Keegan Murray, because I saw the replay multiple times. Keegan didn't make any contact with his hands, with his elbow, with his shoulder. The only contact I saw on that play was Lauri Markkanen kicking his leg out and doing this weird kind of like fuck shit jerk. Right? What is that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want everybody to jump on me here. I feel like in real time, if you were standing there as the ref, you could have possibly thought that maybe there was some contact in real time on the arm. But if you're going to look at the replay, which, whether or not they should have or did, it's very obvious that Markkanen releases that ball, realizes that it's not going to go in, and then decides to kick his leg out. You can literally see a jerk motion. His legs are completely vertical up and down. And then as soon as he thinks, okay, this actually might not go in, he jerks his hip and kicks his leg into him. So that is absolutely an offensive foul. I thought the Olynyk play was an offensive foul, the pump fake leaning into Sabonis. This was just not a good day for the officials.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there, a lot going on. And, Lane, shout out Lane, was in the group chat with us talking during the game. Lane's hilarious, man. I really enjoy listening to what Lane says. But, it was just, I think it was like a few minutes before that, there was that challenge. Mike Brown challenged that play, I think, where Sabonis was picking up foul number 5. I thought that was a horrible challenge. And then maybe you could have used that challenge on that foul at the three-point line. But, I mean, there's got to be a better way for these referees to get more calls correctly because, people like to say, oh, well, it's even, some calls are for you, some are against you. It's all going to even out in the long run. And I think I do believe in that. But at the same time, when I start to see this stuff going on over and over and over again, I'm like, dude, you got to figure something out to get some of these calls correct. I mean, I don't know about you, Calvin, but when I'm at my job, when I'm working and I make a mistake, I try and figure out how to correct it so I don't make that mistake again. The referees seem to be making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And, maybe it's the referee's personal mistake. Maybe it's the system that the referees are given. It's a fault in the system. But, either way, something needs to be changed so that these referees can be in a better position to get more calls correct because – dude, the amount of calls that have just been blatant, obvious, horrible calls this season, I cannot remember another season where I've seen this many calls that have been off. And I'm talking about both sides. Just overall, the officiating has been horrible this season.
I mean, I feel like people think the officiating is horrible every year. I do think it was really bad today, and I keep going back to my biggest problem with the officiating right now is how contact is officiated over the course of a game. How contact from an offensive player initiating that contact into the defense is officiated. It's hard in real time to judge a charge or a block. That's just the way it is. That's 9 times out of 10 because how fast guys move, it's going to be a judgment call. But when someone is backing you down in the post and you turn and you throw your shoulder into them and then you lean back and shoot the ball, that shouldn't be a foul on the defense. And that's called all the time in the NBA now. So they seem to have a pretty very acute sense to traveling in this game as well. That has been all over the place this season, for good and for bad. I mean, that's something that people have talked about as a problem in the NBA for a long time. Guys travel all the time. They get away with it too many times. And I agree with that statement. But I also think there are certain situations where it's like you don't need 6 traveling calls back to back to back to back in a game. That just doesn't look good. Nobody wants to watch that. And if someone's not making their way to the basket on any of those 6 calls, it looks even worse. So consistency, we talk about consistency with the players all the time. Consistency with the officiating definitely has to improve.
Yeah, dude, they need to send these refs down to the G League or cut some people, call some people up, do something, dude, because it's been a little bit outrageous. All right, I'm going to try and not criticize the referees for the rest of the stream. No guarantees here, no promises, but I'm going to try my hardest not to. But, you know, I want to talk about kind of that final play, almost a heartbreaker, where the Jazz throw like a full court pass to Lauri Markkanen. The dude hits the shot. I think it was a 3. They review it. It's in his hand. Before the review, just what was your thought process as soon as you saw that thing go down? Because I don't know about you, but for me, in real time, it looked like it was good.
I thought it was good in real time too. And the way that these two teams have played each other for the first 2 games of the season, it kind of felt like it's only right. I mean, not that the Kings should lose on that play, but just you should almost expect that the way these two teams have played each other so far this year. I'm glad that it ended up being ruled no good and the Kings end up winning the game. And thank goodness for Fox. They needed absolutely every single one of his buckets down the stretch to get this game, and he was able to make just a few more clutch plays than the Utah Jazz.
Yeah. I mean, as the old saying goes, right, better offense or good offense is always going to beat good defense, right? It's tough when you have a guy like Lauri that's so tall, right? We saw it with Dirk, a guy that can just get his shot, shoot over anybody. That's what we saw in that play. If you're Mike Brown, is there something you think you could have done different defensively to prevent that from even being a possibility?
I mean, it's tough. I think with that little time left on the clock, you probably would have liked a few more players to be, behind half court. So you could have had more of a challenge on the pass, and maybe even almost like a double team trap on Markkanen as he's putting that shot up. You certainly don't want to leave anybody completely wide open because you don't, even though it could be a half court or 3/4 court shot, you don't want to give anyone that good of a look at the basket. But I think that the complete commitment to the full court pressure there probably wasn't needed in that moment, especially when you realize that their best player is literally the only guy standing on the other side of half court. I would have probably sent a couple more or one more guy back.
Yeah, I could see that. I do have to give the Kings a shout-out for great job not fouling on that play, right?
Yeah.
Because
right.
he didn't make it, but the way everything else has been going, we would have expected a foul call from one of the referees sending Utah to the line. But, hey, I'm happy we got the win tonight. I agree with Jose here. Jose says they need to fine the referees. Silva says, we are built different from all other NBA fans. Our team has to win against the refs and whatever team we're playing. It's time for penalties for all obvious wrong calls by the refs in the 2-minute report. That's an interesting take. Maybe there could be some kind of strike system, right, of you add up things that happen in the 2-minute report. Once you reach a certain amount of strikes, maybe that's, I don't know, it triggers some kind of extra lesson or some kind of extra training or something you need to do.
Yeah.
Fines are a little stiff, right? I mean, you think about players get fined. but players are making millions and millions of dollars per year. So, I mean, you could adjust the fine, but I think maybe just more training, more education would probably be a little bit more effective. So maybe I'd be on board for something like that. Also, shout out to Mike Monticello for joining in. Shout out, Mike. Thank you. And Gothen's heading out for the night. Gothen, we appreciate you. And you're going to listen to us in the morning because I know you're a true Royal Rebounds fan. So shout out to you. But yeah, dude, the end of that game was so stressful, Calvin. But hey, we came out with the victory. And hey, we're 20 wins, dude. 20 wins. You remember how many wins, ESPN predicted the Kings to win all year long?
I believe it was 32.
And we're like not even halfway through the season. We're 36 games in, and we got 20 wins, Calvin. It's looking great. Now, I know the trade deadline's coming up February 9th. We also have a bunch of players that become trade eligible January 15th. So I do want to talk about all that stuff after we're finished breaking down the game tonight. So make sure you guys stick with us because we're going to talk about some interesting trades. Calvin, we talked about one briefly last night in the car. And I want to elaborate on that because I thought we were onto something there. But, hey, let's get back to the game here. I might as well just ask you straight up, who's your king of the game and who's getting the defensive player of the game chain?
The second question there is a little tough for me. I think there are a few guys or a couple guys you could give it to, but king of the game is got to be De'Aaron Fox for me. Sabonis is always the king of the Kings. I mean, the guy is just as absolutely rock solid as you could possibly be. But the Kings don't win this game without De'Aaron Fox. He had a huge fourth quarter, 37 for the game. And like I said before, it was clutch bucket after clutch bucket after clutch bucket. They couldn't stop him. And his efficiency, his shooting percentage in the fourth and in the clutch was off the charts as it's been pretty much all season long. When the Kings absolutely need somebody to score, it's him. It's not Domas. It's him. So you got to give him all the credit in the world for that fourth quarter tonight. The defensive player of the game, I like Keegan in this game. I think Harrison Barnes did a really great job tonight on Lauri Markkanen, and we'll talk more about him, but he actually affected the game on both sides. We talked in the last game against the Jazz how Barnes really struggled in the post, the mid-post, to guard Markkanen one-on-one. He was able to just shoot over him time after time after time. And then that, I think, the fact that he was on an island for a lot of that game affected his offensive output. He didn't maybe have as much energy down the stretch. He hit some outside shots today. He was really good for them. But I thought Keegan was great. His off-ball defense just gets better and better every game. That chase down block was great. And there were a couple of plays where the Kings made good defensive plays in transition, chasing somebody down, but they didn't have enough guys run back on defense. They could have had, prevented a basket completely on that Keegan chase down block if more guys were able to run back on deep. But I'm going to give him the defensive player of the game chain.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's great, Calvin. I wish you had your chain on, dude. I wish you did, Calvin. I miss you with that chain. It looks good on you, man.
Guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just the wound is still open, and if I put that chain on, it's like putting salt into it. So
I'm just
sorry.
happy you didn't break the chain,
I know.
Calvin. That's what I'm happy about.
I know you guys have really great thoughts about it. Right now, I just don't have great thoughts about it, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. Tito says, I almost fainted at the end. Yeah, me too. Silva, ESPN finally stop hating on the Kings and have some highlights. Maybe. I mean, the last amazing Kings game I saw, I was so excited. I thought De'Aaron Fox was going to be on top plays. I thought he was going to be number one. I go to rewatch the highlights on ESPN. The highlights don't even start till 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, what is going on here? You missed like 3/4 of the game. ESPN's still sleeping on us, but it's okay. I think after this season, things could potentially change. Hopefully. We got the refs against us, Calvin. We got ESPN against us. Dude, we're breaking down all the barriers. We're just fighting. We're moving ahead. The Kings apparently have had the 7th hardest schedule in the NBA so far, Calvin. 7th hardest schedule in the NBA. and they're 4 games above 500. Now they have the 3rd easiest schedule going forward for the rest of the season. So keep that in mind, because maybe we'll see a little bit of a Kings run here. I know they're back home tomorrow, and a lot of easy games coming up. I better knock on
shout
some
out
wood.
to Deuce Mason. I saw him on Twitter earlier today saying the Kings have a stretch coming up where they play like 9 games in a row against teams under 500. They have the best record in the NBA against teams under 500 this season. With this win today, they're now 11-3.
Wow.
Another sign that they're really improving. They're not losing to teams that they shouldn't lose to anymore.
That's great. That's really, really good, Calvin. And, you know, you and I had talked about differences between a bad team, a good team, and a great team, right? I think good teams win games they're supposed to win, right? Great teams beat teams that they're not supposed to beat, right? So the Kings, I think, are safe to say are in that good. I think they're in that good category now where they're winning these games. In the past, they would have just lost. You know, they would have been facing a horrible Detroit Pistons team and just laid an egg and lost that game. Now we're seeing them finally starting to win these games that they're supposed to win. So I'm sure there's a lot of people in Vegas that are probably happy about that as well, right? You can bet on the Sacramento Kings, and they'll actually come through, at least hopefully. All right, I saw some more funny stuff here in the chat. You guys are killing me. Bouncer, I don't know what you want me to say, dude. Terrence Davis didn't play. It's another DNP. We don't know what's going on with him, right? We heard about the back injury. Maybe he wasn't conditioned properly. I think he's still getting back. I would like to see him out on the floor, but unfortunately, I don't have any more information for you. So I don't know what to tell you. He didn't play tonight. Calvin, any thoughts on Terrence Davis? Is he healthy? You think he's on the trade block? Like, I have nothing, dude. I got nothing.
I got nothing either. Barry, you should probably text James Ham, because I think he's the only guy that can really give us an answer outside of Terrence Davis or Mike Brown. And, you and I aren't scheduled to interview either of them anytime soon. So I'm just as confused as everybody else is. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if he's healthy. I don't know if he just is not playing. Maybe he did something in practice that Mike Brown didn't like. Maybe he's just trying something else out. I really don't know. We've definitely seen this second and third, string or line of the rotation be kind of a revolving door this year, and it's positions are up for grabs. People just have to go out and grab them. They've been saying that about the backup center position all year long. I think the 3 and the 4 are also up for grabs, with the exception maybe of Trey Lyles, who was not completely healthy and now is. He should be the guy off the bench at that position every time. But for everybody else, it's whoever steps up and plays well is going to play.
And that's how it should be, right? The best players play all the time, or at least, you brought in Coach Brown to handle stuff like this, right? So it takes a little bit of trust. Yes, we want to see guys like Terrence Davis play. Everyone wants to see the new exciting, shiny thing on the court, right? But it's up to Coach Brown to kind of make those decisions, and so we got to trust him. He doesn't seem to be ready, according to Brown, or at least Brown doesn't need him at this point. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, the trade deadline is February 9th. So we're going to be hearing a lot of things swirling, dude, some trade rumors, and I definitely want to talk about that. So let's get through the rest of this breakdown. But real quick, Lane wants to know, Calvin, what duo in the past does Fox and Sabonis remind you of most?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question, Lane. I'm going to have to think about that a little while. That one's a tough one to come up off the top of my head.
There you go, Lane. I tried. Shout out to Alex from the Hair and Beard podcast for joining in. All right, Calvin. So back to the game here. We talked a little bit about Sabonis. You mentioned Harrison Barnes. You like the defense on Lauri Markkanen. Also put up 19 points, was very efficient, 7 of 13, 3 of 7 from three-point range. Calvin, I honestly think this is one of the best games of the season for Harrison Barnes. He played well offensively, he was efficient, and he played great defense. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree. I think that he was really, really good for them tonight. And, we talk about certain numbers being kind of benchmark numbers for the Kings in terms of what you think their chances are of winning. The 3-point shot is definitely one of them. They didn't come close to it tonight. It's 13. They only had 8, I think. And the percentage was horrible. But for Harrison Barnes individually, when he scores over 11 points, the Kings are usually a much more difficult team to play. They're in this balanced offense where everybody's going to get opportunities. It's whoever makes the most of them. And, you could see it on display tonight, how the ball was moving from one corner to the other, back and forth, from corner to the wing, from side to side. It's just beautiful to watch. And that's effective even when guys are missing shots. But when Harrison Barnes is knocking down shots, Kevin Huerter is knocking down shots, the Keegan Murray is knocking down shots. As the ball moves, it puts so much more stress on the defense and opens up big holes. And they had that for good portions of the game tonight. The bad side of that is they counteracted that or shot themselves in the foot with the bad turnovers and leading into, Utah points, which cancel each other out.
Yeah, welcome in, Matthew. The Kings did win tonight, but hey, you don't need to ask us. Just look into the sky, dude. You'll see the beam. You'll see the purple beam, and you'll know. You don't even need to ask anybody. Just look up, dude. Look up. Yeah, I think this was a great game by Harrison Barnes. I wish he could be a little bit more consistent with this, Calvin. And it's funny that I say that, right? Because I feel like over the past few seasons, he's been one of the most consistent Kings players. But great performance by Harrison Barnes. So shout out to him. Keegan Murray, 16 points for him tonight, was also named the Western Conference Rookie of the Month for the month of December.
Yes, shout out.
Huge award for him. I thought Keegan Murray played well tonight. There were a couple times on defense tonight where I thought he was out of position, but maybe that was just me being a little nitpicky. How are you feeling about Keegan? What did he bring to the floor tonight?
Keegan was great tonight. Absolutely great. He's still not great at putting the ball on the floor and finishing around the rim, but I see him slowly making progress in that area. And for somebody that's as good of a shooter as him, even if he's going to miss shots close to the rim, the pump fake and the drive to keep the defense honest is going to give him better looks from three over the course of a game. So I love the fact that he's being more aggressive, trying to take the ball to the rim, even though his ball handling and finishing still needs some work. If I was him, I would be practicing floaters from every angle, with both hands, off the dribble, off the catch. I would be doing that night after night after every game, because I think that's the one area on offense. He's already really good moving without the ball and getting himself in a position close to the rim where guys like Sabonis and other players can find him, for those backdoor cuts. So I love that part about his game. The inside out is great. It's being able to, have the ball in his hands and put pressure on the defense at the same time, rather than just waiting to catch the pass, as in terms of putting pressure on a defense. But I think he's making strides slowly in that area. And then defensively, the dude has really come a long way in a short amount of time. It's not perfect, but you can tell, I can see when he's on the ball, he's more focused, he's more determined to stay in front of guys. I think that is going to continue to get better. But it's the off-the-ball stuff, which for this team is so important because of their lack of size inside. He's in the right position for rebounds. He's crashing the glass for offensive rebounds as well a lot. He does seem to fumble the ball a fair amount. He doesn't ever really catch it clean.
Could be the
which
thumb.
Is kind of, I don't know how much of that is the thumb. At this point, he's been playing with the wrap for a long time, so maybe it is the thumb, maybe it's not. I'm being a little nitpicky myself here, but overall, I think you have to be really, really happy with Keegan.
Christian, I am stoked on Mike Brown. I think Mike Brown is doing a wonderful job. I see a bunch of people here in the chat talking about Rashawn Holmes. An unfortunate performance for him tonight. 9 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds. Don't worry, guys. We're going to talk all about Rashawn Holmes. We're going to fire up the trade machine. I know you guys are so ready to ship him out of town, so let's just wrap up this game, and we'll definitely talk a little bit about Rashawn Holmes here because I do have some trade ideas, but it is unfortunate seeing him out there and just seem very, very disengaged. Any thoughts just kind of briefly because, I mean, we got a lot to talk about, Calvin. We constantly rag on Rashawn, not on purpose, but just, you know, he doesn't seem like the same guy this year. Any thoughts towards that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to be the same guy when you hardly ever play, right? And there's a very different cast of characters on the team this year. They're not really using him in the same way that they did over the past couple of years, which it was using him in the pick and roll with Tyrese, with De'Aaron Fox, you know, keeping the game really simple for him. It's go out, set a good screen, roll to the basket, and look to get the lob or tip dunk, or, you know, put back offensive rebound, something like that. They don't look for that at all anymore. So I think that's important to keep in mind. This was definitely not his best game by any stretch, but I do think it's really difficult to be in his position where you're never really sure how many minutes you're going to get. You're playing with different guys all the time, and the system is very different than it was for you in the past. So I've said it all year long. I just don't think that the type of player that he is the right fit for this team. I still think he can be an effective player. I see a lot of people talking about his contract. I don't think the contract is bad. It looks bad right now because he doesn't play at all. But you have to keep in mind, they actually paid less for him than they probably would have in a normal setting because the salary cap had shrunk so much. So I think they just have to try to do the thing that they've been trying to do for a long time in finding a trade partner for him. It's not easy to do when a guy doesn't play very often. So both Rashawn and the Kings, I think, are handicapped in this situation. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad contract at all. I just think he's underutilized, and you know, there's just not room. He doesn't fit the playing style of this team. So I think that we will be able to find a trade partner for him, and we'll definitely talk about that. Shout out to Walter here in the chat. He is so unhappy with his Atlanta Hawks because they're falling apart. His coach is wanting to quit, and they're barely in the playoff picture that he needs to feel good by coming into other people's streams and talking smack about their team. So shout out to Walter. Good luck on tomorrow's game, and good luck with your season with your Atlanta Hawks because the wheels are falling off, buddy. The wheels are falling off. Anyways, Calvin, I mean, De'Aaron Fox, does there have to be much said about De'Aaron Fox? I mean, incredible performance by him tonight. The one thing that did stand out to me is it seems like De'Aaron Fox is starting to argue more and more with the referees. And I get it, right? I started this stream off going after the referees, right? Like, I'm so frustrated, and I get it. You're so frustrated, too, not getting calls, going to the basket constantly. But there was multiple times, Calvin, in this game where I saw De'Aaron Fox arguing with the referees instead of getting back on defense. And that's really, really what bothers me. Like, hey, you have something to say to the referees? Wait till there's a stoppage in play. Approach them, have a civil conversation with him. Don't have your arms out. Don't be yelling. You know, like, don't be so demonstrative. Yes, you're emotional. I get it. A lot of players play with emotion. That's what gives you the edge. But, you know, you got to get back on defense. That's the only thing I could say that I'd like to see improvement by De'Aaron Fox. Other than that, dude, 37 points, hits the go-ahead bucket. Great performance by him. Cal, what'd you see out of Fox?
He was great tonight. He really, I don't, like you said, I don't know how much more you can really say. While I was watching this game, you know, after the game in Memphis, there was a pretty heated debate on this show about De'Aaron Fox, whether he was a good player or not, or whether the Kings are justified by paying him what they're paying him. And so I tried to think about that a lot as I watched this game, because it's easy to say, well, of course, you know, he proves everybody wrong in this moment. But I do think, it's consistency for him. He's a phenomenal player. He's impossible to stop one-on-one. He's a great finisher, one of the best mid-range shooters in the game. Didn't shoot the three ball well tonight. And yes, I do think that he complains too much. I think he's very quick to get technical fouls. I totally understand the frustration. He probably does get fouled more times than not when he goes to the basket. But you do have to commit to the other end of the floor, especially for me, if you're going to be a star in this league and if you're going to be the type of player that the Kings need him to be, to not just be a good team, but to win in the playoffs. They have to get away from that stuff. He's got to be more focused on defense, got to be more focused on playing defense rather than talking to the officials. And then I'm also watching this game tonight and looking at, besides the obvious differences between Sabonis and Fox, their demeanor. I think this is a perfect time to bring it up because you're talking about the complaining to the officials. Sabonis does complain a little bit, but not nearly as much. And he's also the guy that is always on every single play, no matter what happens, immediately going over to his teammates and giving them either words of encouragement or saying, hey, this was open right here. We need to look for this stuff. De'Aaron Fox does do that sometimes, but not nearly enough for me, I think. That's the biggest difference, I would say, right now between the two of them in how they orchestrate the rest of the team. And those are the guys, right, that are supposed to be the leaders of this team. And it's a night and day difference for me right now between DeMontis and De'Aaron. So I don't want to try to be too negative because he had a phenomenal game. And like I said earlier, they don't win this game without De'Aaron Fox. He's been really, really good in the clutch. But trying to keep in mind, whatever everybody's frustrations with Fox are, it's definitely consistency to me, committing to the defensive end of the floor, and being, a vocal leader for this team.
Yeah, shout out to Nick for joining in on Twitter Spaces. Nick, what's up? How are you?
Good, man. Hey, why not like me? Why not?
Why not, dude? Why not? Hey, Nick, I want to hear from you, man. I want to know what was going through your mind when you saw that final shot go in by Lauri Markkanen. Because, dude, my heart dropped. I thought it was good in real time. I was stressed out. What did you think?
I felt okay about it, but the last shot did not count.
It didn't count. I know.
Right.
I know. I was worried, though. I was worried until I saw the replay.
But I was excited that we won the game.
Yeah, it was a great victory. 20 wins now. We're not even 40 games into the season. We already got 20 wins. We're feeling great. Who do you think's going to get the defensive chain tonight?
I feel like that, well, we'll have to see. Sabonis? Yeah, and Sabonis, he's playing on a broken finger.
Yeah, he
Yes,
is.
he
He is
is.
still dealing with the thumb injury. He's playing great, though, man. Like, you can't even tell out there. I think I even saw him finish with the right hand tonight.
Yeah, people, I feel like they're playing through injuries. Wow.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're live on YouTube right now. Anything you want to say to everybody watching?
I want to say that, hey, go Kings.
Yeah, go Kings. Well, thanks, Nick. I appreciate you jumping in. You're welcome on stage anytime you want to hang out and have your voice heard. You can join us anytime.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Nick.
Nick. Good to hear from you.
Sweet.
All right, Calvin. So I guess the last starter we can go over is Kevin Herter. But real quick, we got another question here in the chat. I apologize. I don't remember who posted this, but they want to know what your thoughts are on the Kings shortening the bench already. I mean, we're seeing less and less guys play on a nightly basis. Do you think it's a little early in the season to be shortening the bench?
No, I don't. If you look around the league, it's pretty typical of teams to shorten their bench to 8-9 guys, roughly 35 to 40 games in. I mean, this is the exact opposite conversation we had last year, right? Where they came into the season saying, we've got 12, 13 guys that we think could play. And, this team's so deep. They've got a lot of different options. And then as the season went on, it was like, they need to trim down some of the fat here. They've got to cut the rotation down a little bit. I think that a good team almost always has a very solid 8 to 9, maybe 10 in some instances rotation that they can rely on. And if you're constantly, adding or subtracting players to that rotation, it's hard for guys to be consistent in those moments, and it also leaves more opportunity, I think, for variation and fluctuation in the style of play or the production of play, really, from the bench, which this season has been all over the map. They've been one of the best bench teams in the league. For portions of the year, they're still, I think, 6th in bench scoring, but it's very hard to be consistent when you're playing that many guys.
Yeah, you're right. It is. And I'm a little mixed here because I can't decide whether, they're just trying to figure out what maybe a playoff rotation would look like, or if they're trying to say, okay, well, maybe Terrence Davis is a tradable asset. So, if we don't play him for a stretch, we see how the team responds. If the team is okay without him, yes, we're seeing Rashawn Holmes play more. Are they trying to highlight him a little bit for a trade? I'm not really quite sure. So I'm a little confused in what's going on, right? We haven't seen Metu in a while. We haven't seen Keita. We saw Keita and Len play a lot when Sabonis was out. Now that Sabonis is back, it just seems to be like Sabonis, Barnes, Lyles, and a little bit of Rashawn Holmes as far as the bigs go. It's definitely leaning a lot on Domantas Sabonis. But like I said, the trade deadline is coming up in like 5 weeks or so. So we're probably going to have a lot of these questions answered. I personally think it might be a little early in the season to be shortening up the bench because there's still a lot of guys that we have questions about and what they can bring to this basketball team. On that note, Chima Maneki was actually brought up from the Stockton Kings to the Sacramento Kings today. So it'll be interesting to see why he was brought up and maybe what Coach Brown plans on doing with him. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's more of just a safety valve. I mean, you're seeing randomly here, Keon Ellis is brought up. Other players from the G League have been rotated in and out of this lineup. I think they just want to have more overall wing depth. I don't expect to see Chima play many minutes unless it's a blowout one way or the other. This is just another move. Teams around the league do this constantly throughout the season. I don't think that you're going to see him play very much, though.
Yeah. Lane, have a good night. Thank you for joining us on the show. I know it's a little bit later, so appreciate you taking some time out. Yeah, Calvin, I'm interested, dude. It's going to be interesting to see, a UC Davis alumni, so shout out to him, what he can bring to the Kings. I do like him a lot. I agree with Neil here. Okay, so we talked about pretty much all the starters tonight, except for Kevin Huerter. He's the last one, and I mentioned 5 starters tonight in double figures. A combined 8 points off the bench tonight for the Sacramento Kings, which is absolutely wild, dude. That's wild. You score 117 points and only 8 points off the bench, meaning all the starters were extremely productive. Kevin Huerter, 32 minutes, 16 points, 2 of 6 from three-point range. Calvin, this was the Kevin Huerter that we saw a little bit earlier in the season. He went through that shooting slump. I think it's safe to say that Kevin Huerter is back. You agree with that?
Oh, I think he's back offensively, yeah, for sure. I'm not saying he's going to shoot 50% from 3 on 7 attempts a game for the rest of the year, but he's also, teams are definitely game planning for him differently since the start of the season. So he's not taking as many 3-point shots. He's using the off-ball backdoor cut and the mid-range shot, though, to supplement the points that he's not getting from the 3-point line like he was early in the season. And that is the huge difference to me from the beginning of the year to the middle when he had his slump and to now, where his shooting percentages from inside the 3-point line have been really good all year long. And now he's balancing that out with good 3-point shooting as well. The backdoor cuts were perfectly timed tonight. He's giving, DeMontis and other guys who get stuck with the ball in their hands a release valve at the end of the shot clock. And for somebody that's a really good 3-point shooter, you've got to be locked in and focused and not settle for that shot in order to take advantage of those opportunities. He's absolutely doing that. I still am not really happy with him on defense. He fouls too much. He gets beat too much on the first line drive, and that's why he loses minutes, to guys like Malik Monk, KZ, all these other wings. But he is a very important player for them offensively when he's going, just like Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray are going offensively. This is a really hard team to beat.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he brought a lot of things that the Kings needed. So I'm really, really happy about that trade. And I know a lot of Hawks fans are really unhappy that they lost Kevin Huerter because he's large. He can rebound. He can pass. He's a great shooter. He's really brought in a lot to the Sacramento Kings team. And I think he's a big reason why the Kings are a much improved team this year. Let's see. What does Bench Matthew have to say here? Oh, Kings are getting killed on the board and giving up second chance points. Yeah, we saw that a lot tonight in the last couple games, right? Second chance points, offensive rebounds. We saw that in the Memphis game. Can we play a rotation with Domas plus Metu or Domas plus Keita at the 5? Have that rotation when the small ball ain't working. Matthew, I mean, we've seen that, but I think that we need another guy, and that's kind of why I want to talk about some trades here. I think that they need another guy. I like what I saw out of Metu at times. Keita, I don't think Keita's ready. I think Keita needs a lot more time to develop. I don't think he's ready to just jump in and play consistent minutes on a good basketball team I think that his kind of window or where he's at doesn't really line up with where the Kings are currently at. So I think he needs to maybe be sent down to the G League or just, practice with this team more and more. He doesn't seem to be ready for where the Kings are at. As far as Metu goes, like I said, I like what I've seen some out of him. I have no idea why he's been benched recently for probably the past 5 or 10 games.
It's been a while.
I would like to make a trade to bring in a guy that will help with rebounding, that will help with shot blocking. I don't think that guy currently exists on this roster. Calvin, you agree with me or you disagree?
I do agree with you. I mean, it's easy to say, well, play your biggest guys on the team when you really need rebounds. But there's so much else that's going on in terms of matchups, what they want to do on offense. Trying to play Keita out there on offense with Sabonis, a guy who sees the floor so well and relies on the middle of that floor being open to find all these guys with the beautiful backdoor passes over and over and over again. I don't think Keita is anywhere near ready to play out on the floor with those guys and keep that floor open. He's certainly not going to stretch the floor with his three-point shot. I know he's made a couple of them, but that's definitely not where you want him to be or a strength of his. So I agree with you. I just don't think that they have the right combination of players on this team to say, all right, we're going to go big and try to counteract, what teams are doing to them on the offensive glass.
Yeah, and I've also heard, from Mike Brown in a few different interviews, and same with Monty, right, where they've emphasized that they like the style of play and that they can play that with no matter who's on the court. So I don't know if they just want to say, okay, we're just going to forget about the small ball lineup and we're going to just shift into this new style of play. I think they want to kind of stick with one style of play throughout the game and make small little minor adjustments. And I don't know if that really works with that, but we'll definitely see. Calvin, I'm happy with the win tonight, but I think I'm done talking about this game. I'm ready to talk about some trades. You have any last or final thoughts here on the Kings' victory over the Utah Jazz? Dude, this game was exciting, dude. I might rewatch it after the stream.
It was a very exciting game, very up and down game. The flow was very up and down to this game as well. But, Yes, happy that the Kings were able to pull this one out. Big win to get after losing, on the road in Memphis, and being able to go back home now with a good taste in your mouth, refocus. You get a bunch more games at home here. This was an important win for the Kings to get.
All right, I'm lighting the beam, and then we're talking about trades.
Light the beam! Woo! Yes, sir. Let's go, man. The beam is lit.
There you go, Bouncer. You wanted Terrence Davis. You got him. You got him. All right, Calvin. Let's talk about trades. Before we dive into that, I just want to remind everybody, vote for your Kings All-Stars, guys. You can vote every single day until January 27th. Vote for Fox. Vote for Sabonis. Let's get him in the All-Star game. It is in Utah, so if you want to send them back to Utah a month from now to play in the All-Star game, make sure you put in your votes every single day. It takes every single one of us to get these guys to the All-Star game because we know we're not getting help by the refs. We know we're not getting help by ESPN. So please, 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 all us Kings fans got to stick together. I'm looking at you, Nick. Put in your All-Star votes. Let's get the Kings players to the All-Star game. Okay, we talked about Keegan Murray named Western Conference Rookie of the Month. Shout out to him. We talked about Manecki getting called up. We talked about the Kings having the 7th hardest schedule already and the 3rd easiest going forward, so that should definitely help out. We'll touch more on that towards the end of the stream when we give a preview for tomorrow's game, because the Kings are flying back to Sacramento right now, and they are on a back-to-back tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks. But, Calvin, I want to talk about trades here, and I want to remind everybody there's a few important dates, right? So I believe it's if you were signed in the offseason, you are eligible to be traded December 15th. However, if you were on a team and signed an extension, you are not eligible to be traded until January 15th, which is coming up in, 11 days from now, 12 days from now.
Very soon.
So there's a few really important players that are going to be trade eligible starting January 15th, Calvin. First off, we got Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls. We got Bradley Beal from the Wizards. Those are the two big names, right? I don't think the Kings are going to end up making a trade for one of those. However, there is some centers that will be available. Your favorite guy, Calvin, Mo Bamba. I know a lot of people in the chat love Mo Bamba. He becomes trade eligible January 15th. So the soonest the Kings could trade for him would be January 15th. DeAndre Ayton becomes trade eligible. Yusuf Nurkic becomes trade eligible. And Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knicks becomes trade eligible. Now, Calvin, the guy that I want to talk about, and Asha, no, it's not Boban. The guy that I want to talk about, Calvin, is not on this list. So before I get there, is there anybody on this list, LaVine, Beal, Bamba, Ayton, Nurkic, Robinson, that you would really like the Kings to target here?
I still like Mo Bamba. Yes, Callum, I do like Naz Reid as well. He's already eligible to trade for, and he makes the least amount of money, I think, out of all of these guys that we've talked about. So they would, not have to give up as much maybe if Minnesota is willing to trade him to Sacramento. But I'd still like Mo Bamba. I think that he could be, exactly the type of player that the Kings need. We haven't really seen him reach what many people thought his potential was when he was picked, I think, 5th overall out of Texas. But when you just break it down to the fact that the Kings need somebody who is long and big inside, good at blocking shots, will be able to provide solid rebounding as well, a guy that can take a little bit of the pressure off of Domantas Sabonis defensively, which if they have somebody else who's coming down with, 10 rebounds in a game inside, imagine how much transition opportunities they're going to have, because we saw so many times here, Keegan Murray would get the rebound, he'd kick it to Sabonis, and he would be leading the break. I think Sabonis is great at being able to rake and take the rebound himself, but they would have so many more opportunities and so many more easy buckets if they had somebody else in there that they could rely on to grab some rebounds And Mo Bamba is a pretty good three-point shooter as well. So I think he fits what the Kings are trying to do offensively as well and keeping the lane clear.
Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout-out to Davion Mitchell's brother, Donovan Mitchell. 71 points last night, Calvin. Almost a 70-point triple-double. An amazing, amazing performance. So shout-out to Donovan Mitchell. Dude, I still screw that up every time. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell, 71 points, dude. That's huge, Calvin. That is a huge, huge game. All right, so the guy that I want to talk about, Calvin, my trade target, he's second in the NBA in rebounding. Can you guess who it is?
Clint Capella.
Clint Capella. All right, now just stay with me, guys. Stay with me. I have some reasons here. So Clint Capella is making about $18 million a year. He's playing on the Atlanta Hawks. He's actually on the bench right now dealing with a hamstring injury, so I don't think he will be available tomorrow, but he could be in Sacramento with the Hawks watching the game. But I like Clint Capella a lot. Let me tell you why. So first off, he's only 28, which I know may seem a little old for this core, but I think big men take a little bit longer to develop. I think he's ready and can contribute right away. Now, I mentioned he is second in the NBA in rebounding, which is huge. You know who's number one, Calvin? Domantas Sabonis. The Kings' biggest problems over the past 10-plus seasons has been rebounding, and defense at the rim. Capella checks both those boxes. He's averaging 1.3 blocks a game. He's averaged 2 blocks a game per game one season in his career. He's a great rebounder. He's great at pick and roll. I think that he could be a great addition to this Kings team. Now, let me dive a little bit deeper here. So, if the Kings were able to take on a guy like Clint Capella, it would move Sabonis to the power forward position. And I know a lot of people would have questions about the fit. Clint Capella can't shoot the three, blah, 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 all that. We'll talk about that here in a second, Calvin. Now, the thing that I really want to touch on with Clint Capella is the fact that he's with the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks are having a lot of issues right now. We're hearing about their coach could potentially be stepping down. We're hearing about John Collins wanted out. We're hearing about, what's going on with their new addition in DeJounte Murray, whether, Trae Young might request a trade. Maybe Clint Capella will be the first man out. We'll see here. But the thing that really intrigues me, Calvin, is the fact that the problem for the Sacramento Kings in trading for one of these other guys is the Kings are not eligible to trade a first-round draft pick until like 2028, right? Because you can't trade consecutive draft picks. And they traded a protected first-round pick for Kevin Huerter. Now, that draft pick is protected, top 12 in 2024. It is lottery protected in 2024, top 12 in 2025, and top 10 in 2026. So because of the protections on that, it's not trade eligible, or the Kings cannot trade another first-round pick until 2028. Now, if the Kings decide to make a trade with the Atlanta Hawks, they could unprotect that draft pick, meaning that that pick would be conveyed in 2024 instead of lottery protected, and then the Kings would be eligible to trade their pick in 2026 if they want. They could trade 2027. They could trade 2028, whatever. They can't trade all of those, but they could trade one of those. So I think the Kings could definitely make a move here. They could include maybe a Rashawn Holmes, maybe a Terrence Davis, and then they could unprotect that draft pick. Maybe Atlanta would be interested in a deal like that if they're trying to move on from Clint Capella. So we can look here and kind of see where the salary cap situation stands. They got John Collins making $23 million. He's definitely locked up. Clint Capella's locked up for 2 more years after this season, one at $20 million, one at $22 million. And then you have guys that are going to need to be paid, right? Like DeAndre Hunter. He starts his contract extension next season where he bumps up to $20 million. So maybe they will be looking to cut some salary cap. But Calvin, I really, really do like Clint Capella. I think he could help this team a lot. I think a lot of people are looking at John Collins as a potential trade candidate. And hey, maybe I'm open to that as well. I do like the fact that you could unprotect that pick and make something happen. Calvin, that was a lot. I just said a lot there. I got to catch my breath here. Give me your thoughts.
I like what you're I like your thought process here. Getting creative with the unprotecting of the pick to give the Kings, more options in terms of being able to go out and trade for a big name guy or somebody who's going to be, having an immediate impact on this team and impact them in the areas that they're looking for, right? Rebounding, size and length inside, all that stuff. I'm really on the fence about playing Sabonis and Capella together. I think that you could probably do some things where it would work. It would look a lot different, I think, than what they're doing right now and what has worked for them so far, and partly what has made Sabonis not just an all-star this year, but a guy who's in the MVP conversation early on in the season. So that's the part of it that I don't really like. But if you're trying to think of somebody who's going to play big minutes and have, such an impact inside, rebounding, all that stuff, there aren't many guys in the league that really fit, seamlessly offensively with Sabonis and what the Kings want to do. So it's kind of like a pick your poison situation right now for Sacramento. You really want to be all in on improving the rim protection and rebounding and all that stuff. You might have to sacrifice some things that you do offensively, or not necessarily sacrifice, but change a little bit of what you do if that's really what you think is going to put you over the top. Or you could be all in on what they're doing, the style of play and the process that they've been going with this season, still trying to get somebody that helps inside with rebounding, but isn't going to play as big of a role or isn't going to play many minutes with Sabonis on the floor. That's why the Kings are in a difficult situation right now.
So Suba's got an interesting take here. It says, I'm sorry, but wouldn't getting Capella just duplicate the same awkwardness that Sabonis had with Miles Turner in Indiana? Calvin, I get it, right? It's two big guys playing next to each other. I mean, they had some success in Indiana. They didn't win a championship or anything, but they were a pretty good basketball team. I think that Capella and Miles Turner are much different players, right? Turner can shoot the three.
They are, absolutely.
He's not as good of a rebounder. He can block shots like Capella, but, I think they are a little bit different players. And I think having, a lot of other guys around them, and Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter can definitely help that, right? This Kings team is a pretty good three-point shooting team and could help make up for a lack of shooting with Clint Capella. You have any concerns regarding that?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I mean, look, I think like I said, my biggest concern is not having the same type of opportunities that are making Sabonis such a phenomenal player right now. And I'm not talking about rebounding. That stuff, I think no matter who you add or how much size you add, Sabonis is a great rebounder. That stuff's not going to dramatically fall off the table all of a sudden. It's how he has the ball in his hands in the half-court offense and how he's able to see the floor so well and have it be so open. It's a double-edged sword right now. The Kings get killed defensively because they don't play with a ton of size. But on offense, they're so tough to stop because Sabonis is, similar to Nikola Jokic, in a big man who's able to control the game offensively and really make all these other guys around him so much better. I mean, Keegan Murray, we have been raving about him as a player, and I've been talking about him as a great pick. He is not this good this early without Sabonis. That's just plain as day. So it's a very tough thing to be in. I think it's also really hard to evaluate what a certain player is going to look like playing with other specific players, right? It's pretty easy to look at film of an individual and say, they're really good at this thing or these few things. They're bad at this thing. They're bad at these few things. It's a whole nother game to try to imagine what that person does well playing next to another group of individuals. There's the human element to it. I mean, you can say scheme and all this stuff, and, this person does X, Y, and Z really well, so he should fit into the system seamlessly. but it's not that easy, and it doesn't happen a lot of times. So it's a very difficult game to play.
Get out of here, Sass. I'm not trying to turn us into the Timberwolves, and I'm not trying to trade everything for this guy. I just think that Clint Capella could be a potential target, a buy low candidate. And like I said, with the first-round pick situation, the Kings don't really have a lot of options. So I think that making a trade with Atlanta definitely has its advantages, whether it's for Clint Capella or John Collins. I would definitely keep my eyes on those. And the fact that the Kings are playing the Hawks tomorrow, I think Monty's going to get a second look at this squad, maybe meet up with some front office staff from the Hawks and maybe be able to work out a deal. 209 Tacos, where did I get this hat? I got this at the arena, what was that, 4 years ago or something like that? So maybe you can find it online. It is gold. I don't know if you could tell from the color here, but it is gold, and it does have the patch on the side. It's a cool hat. I like it.
Barry, another thing we haven't brought up yet is that the Kings starting lineup this year statistically has been one of the top 3 lineups in the NBA all season long. And it's not just offensively. It's net rating. It's all of this stuff. So messing with the starting lineup is another thing that, it's a big risk to take right now. It might really help in the long run. It might also derail what you've already got going for you. So that's another thing that I think Monty is really grappling with. Does he make a big move that shakes up the starting lineup and has the idea of like building championship potential in the future? Or you keep what you've got going well for you right now and try to make a small move that improves, a few little things here and there in terms of bench, rebounding and rim production and all that stuff.
Yeah, great point. I saw somebody in the chat here saying that we need another playmaker. You agree with that, Calvin? Because I feel like this team has plenty of playmakers. You got De'Aaron Fox, you got Sabonis. I think Kevin Huerter can pass the ball. Obviously, I wouldn't call him a playmaker. I think you got Davion Mitchell. I think you got Malik Monk. You think this team needs another playmaker? Because honestly, I think they need size, they need rebounding, they need rim protection over another playmaker.
I would agree that they need size, rim protection, and rebounding over another playmaker. Yes.
All right, there you go. Well, hey, that's my idea. Let's fire up the trade machine and see if we can make something work. You have any other guys, Calvin, that you've been thinking of? I know you. A lot of people in the chat are talking about Sagan. Who do you think? You talked about John Collins a little bit, but is there any other guy outside of like Mo Bamba or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, this is why these conversations are tough for me, because there are a lot of guys that you like a lot, right? I mean, at this point, I'm still borderline an all-in trade for Pascal Siakam that gives away a lot for the Kings, but they get that guy and keep him, with the pillars of this team, and hopefully you can keep guys like Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk and all that. I think that move could potentially be paid huge dividends for Sacramento down the road. But you go through all of these players, and the question is, are they really available, and what does it take to get them? And that's why this game is just so impossible sometimes, because, you want all these people, but how realistic is it that you really can get any of them?
Yeah, great point. Yeah, Jackson Hayes would be nice. I don't know if he's available. Obviously, I'm not trading for Marvin Bagley. But Calvin,
I know
this
PK has been on the Jackson Hayes train all year. I'm not in favor of that one. I think Jackson Hayes is an exceptional athlete for somebody his size, but has not improved his game very much at all since he's been in the league. I don't think that he would be a good fit for the Kings. And most of that is obviously offensively, but he's not somebody that I would go for. Sorry, PK.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to make a deal for Clint Capella, this looks good to me. Clint Capella for Rashawn Holmes, Terrence Davis, whether you have to unprotect that draft pick, I think is definitely necessary. Hopefully that would be enough for the Atlanta Hawks. We know that they did make a deal with the Hawks in the offseason, so they do have some connections there. And Wes Wilcox, who's in the front office with the Kings, used to be with the Atlanta Hawks. So maybe they could work out a trade like this. I think this would be a win for the Kings. Whether the Hawks would accept it is a total another story. We'll see what the next few weeks entails for the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, Calvin, I think that's pretty much it. Let's talk about the next game. And real quick, we can check on the standings. The Kings are in the 5th seed right now in the Western Conference at 20-16. Man, Calvin, 4 games above 500 this far into the season. I can't remember the last time that happened. All right, as far as the schedule goes, it's looking pretty good here, Calvin. The Kings are 3-1 in the last 4 games. They've definitely picked it up since those losses to Charlotte, Washington, and Denver. They lost to a really, really tough Memphis Grizzlies team. That was late in the game. Next up, they're returning home for this long road trip against the Hawks, the Lakers, the Magic, and 2 games against the Rockets. Calvin, tomorrow's game is against the Hawks. As far as the injury report goes, Clint Capella is out for the Hawks. I'll make this a little bit bigger. With that hamstring injury, we'll see if Keegan Murray can play. We did see him, dive on his arm in this game. He was grabbing it, but he did finish the game. He seemed to be okay, so I think he should play. But Calvin, what are your thoughts on this game? And then we'll dive into keys.
Well, this game is definitely up for grabs, right? I mean, the Hawks are a what is the word that is escaping me right now? Underperforming team. Everybody kind of expected them to be much, much better than they were. They've had some injury problems for sure, but there's a lot of turmoil maybe within the organization. This is a game that, these two teams seem to be going in opposite directions in terms of the franchise, the overall feel, from the players. I think there's a lot more people in Atlanta that are unhappy with the way things are going. That doesn't seem to be the case in Sacramento at all. So this game is very interesting to me. I think these teams, I'm looking at the individual matchups here a lot. I mean, we've seen a lot of really good games in the past of De'Aaron Fox against DeJounte Murray when he was in San Antonio. They're very similar style players. For me, offensively, I'm thinking about how the Kings attack this team, and specifically Trae Young. I'm wondering who Trae Young is going to guard in this game, because DeJounte Murray probably is the guy that should guard De'Aaron Fox. But does that really mean that you're going to risk putting Trae Young on a Kevin Huerter he's given up like 5-6 inches to him? A Kevin Huerter that's been shooting it really well and can also just abuse him, in the mid-range. So I think the Hawks are very vulnerable when it comes to defending the Kings offense here and these guards, and how they really move the ball and move without the ball offensively. I'd be attacking Trae Young all night in this game.
Yeah, that's a great point. The Kings did lose to the Hawks, the only game they played this season, back in November, but Clint Capella was active during that game. I think not having Capella out there for the Atlanta Hawks is going to be huge for the Kings. I think the Kings are going to be able to hopefully out-rebound the Hawks, limit some of those second-chance points off of offensive rebounds. I know Malik Monk led the Kings in scoring the last time they played. I don't think that'll happen again. So good games by De'Aaron Fox. Sabonis has got to get another double-double. I know tonight was his 14th straight, so he's got to go for 15 straight tomorrow. But this is a big game for the Kings, starting a road trip. I saw somebody here in the chat mention, the Kings have had multiple chances to get 5 games over 500 this season, and they've faltered on every single one of those. This is another chance here, Calvin. I think it's a good opportunity. They're at home. It is a back-to-back, but Atlanta seems to be having a rift. They're underperforming, like you said, and not having Clint Capella out there could definitely help the Kings in the rebounding department. Calvin, give me your keys to the game.
Well, I know everybody knows what key number 1 is. It's rebounding. You're going number 1 against number 2 rebounders individually in the league. The Kings they're always under fire when it comes to rebounding, protecting their defensive glass. That's definitely on every team's scouting report. This is how you hurt the Kings. You have to kill them in second chance opportunities. So they're going to have to be committed to the boards, find a way to box out. And I think, the wings, Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes are the guys that are ultimately the most important in this, because Sabonis can't get every rebound. He commands so much attention and size inside, and in this game, much like we saw against Memphis and Steven Adams, he's going to have his hands full with Clint Capella all night long. So it's going to be on, the other guys, and I'm looking specifically at Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray to be guys that step up in that department. Number 2, I'm going to say attack. They have to get to the rim. They got to find a way to get easy buckets. Hopefully they can get to the foul line as well, and they can get a little bit of that home court advantage like we saw in Utah tonight. So they get some free throw disparity. Maybe they get Clint Capella in foul trouble early on, which could really help out Sabonis, and they have to attack Trae Young specifically. They've got to take the lid off the basket as well, man. For this team, it's live by the 3, die by the 3. If they knock down outside shots, even if they don't play well defensively, and even if they turn the ball over, if they shoot a high percentage from 3, they will still have a chance to win.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at scoring in this game. The Kings need to outscore the Hawks to win this basketball game. Alfie Man says, have the Kings beaten each team in the NBA? I'm not going to look down the whole schedule, Alfie Man, but I know they haven't beaten the Hawks. So, tomorrow night, if they beat the Hawks, that'd definitely be a chance. I don't even know if they've played all 30 teams in the NBA yet, Calvin. I mean, they've only played 36 games. This is, I think, their third game tonight second game against the Jazz. They played multiple teams multiple times. So I do not think that they've played all the teams in the NBA, but getting a win tomorrow will definitely be important for the Kings and a great way to start off that road trip. Calvin, I think that pretty much wraps us up tonight. Kings win. They beat the Jazz 117-115 with an exciting finish. If you have not seen the game tonight, make sure you re-watch it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We will be live tomorrow night after the game. Calvin, any last words to the Kings fans out there?
Light the beam.
That's
all you got to say.
Light the beam. Well, hey, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you all tomorrow. And in the meantime, go Kings.